So what kind of qualities do each of you look for in a band, Jeff, as far as when you're signing an artist to a potential deal, or Rob, when you're looking at qualities in a band you'd like to manage?
Well, for me personally, I look for an iconic voice, and it that has to do with being unique. It could be any type of the music, the beat could be iconic, the guitar tone could be iconic, and Lincoln did have that. I would say authenticity, which I reference all the time. They have to speak their truth. You know, there's so many artists out there who do get deals and are, become big stars, but somebody that is speaking to what they believe in. And I think that believability factor, just like when you meet anybody in your ordinary day life, you can decipher who's authentic and who's not, who's fake.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important to me. The star power quality, the ability to engage a fan base and speak to them directly and get goosebumps. And that's the key to me. Is like, if I get goosebumps and I go, oh my God, I got to have this right now, that urgency, that's supremely important. You know, if you see somebody, you're like, oh yeah, it's good, but there's not, I know when I call a problem, I'm like, dude, you got to hear this right now. That's, we're interested. It's almost like a disease of ours. Like, it's an addiction to music when we know if we find something that really turns us on. So that's important. And then also, obviously, is having hit songs or the ability to write those hit songs, because you've got to have that vehicle of being able to write music, or at least be authentic in your writing. And it's okay if you write with other people, that's totally cool. But, hit songs are important to have that, for the most part, for that career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll add to that what I'm really kind of looking for. I mean, obviously, authenticity, you'll always hear that ad nauseum about stuff like that, but it's true, right? Passion is everything, right? You could have, everyone can think it's the worst thing, but if you can really show that you will do anything for it. I look at it that way. I become passionate about my artists. I love taking on new developing artists. I love it because you know what? There's passion there. And when I fall into something, and Jeff does the same thing, like he was just saying, we really, really have to be able to see it. When I talk to a new band, basically what I say is, I want to hear your music. I'll live with it a couple of days. If I can visualize what to do with it, that's an artist I want to be with, right? It's kind of an, I hate to call it an art unto itself, but you really have to be the leader of a team like that. I have to really be able to kind of close my eyes and feel every aspect of it and kind of see where it can go. Okay. Otherwise it doesn't work. Otherwise you're struggling, right? And the other thing is looking for acts that work so hard that it's tiring. I will never work harder than my artists.
And I'm going to say that is something that Rob says to me all the time. And I find, unfortunately, people look at us and we're so passionate about what we do. Sometimes we work harder than the artist, and that is not a good sign. You never want to, you want artists who have the talent, but almost as importantly is the drive and that pursuit of, making it. Because if you aren't that driven, you're like, oh, I could always do this and that and the other, you're going to find other things that distract you. You have to have that, almost that disease that we have to just succeed in music and have your music heard. I mean, drive is super important, almost as much as the talent, because there's a lot of talented people out there that don't have the drive.
And tough skin, but you earn that over time. Sure. You got to be able to put up with it. There's so much that everything's against you, right? That's really the world that you're in when you're in music, right? And
for sure.
Unless you have this, even the craziest talented people in the world have some kind of, they'll tell you a story somewhere along the way. Where there was a belief and then something just pushed through,
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, like what you talk about, Jeff, with something that's iconic. I feel like that can mean a lot of different things.
In my book, I describe it as immediately identifiable.
Yeah.
So then we can talk about Queen or Metallica, and there's a million bands. Korn, anything. I mean, just off the top of my head, anything that within the first 3 seconds, if you hear a drum beat, a guitar tone. Obviously a vocal sound, a characteristic, a tonality in a vocal, and both Mike and Chester had that. You know exactly within 2 notes who that is.
Sure.
That's being iconic. And I was fortunate enough to work with somebody like Macy Gray who had that. Her voice is immediately identifiable to Jonathan Davis, even to Fred Durst. Daniel Powder Had a Bad Day. That guy's voice is identifiable, and I mean that's what I look for in a vocal, especially.
Yeah. Yeah, the example I was kind of specifically thinking of was someone like Bob Dylan, where it's not necessarily that they're the best at what they do. It's that Bob Dylan is an iconic singer and performer and songwriter. Will be the first person to tell you that he can't sing. But he's just got that immediately. You can't listen to Bob Dylan and not know who he is.
And he connects, and that's super important. Can that voice connect? Like Macy Gray doesn't have the best voice. When I played for 99% of Raper, they're like, her voice is not that good. No, but there's a vulnerability and a sincerity in that really does connect. And I think we both talked, and there's an artist out right now, because there's not a lot of great new rock coming out, but there's a guy named Jordan who's grandson, and that guy's voice, he reminds me of like a Bob Dylan meets Zach De La Rocha from Rage, and has that intensity and that message, and he sounds a little quirky, but his message gets across because he delivers it in such a way it's really powerful. So
yeah,
there's a ton of iconic singers. That's what makes them connect with us.
Yeah, a lot of the Linkin Park fans will know Grandson because he did a song with Mike on his solo album. And Jordan's got that thing with his voice where it's like his voice cracks and squeaks and does all kinds of weird things, but like it's him.
Well, but he doesn't hide it, right? Because it is. It's the authentic thing that comes out of him. A lot of people will try to hide it. He's not auto-tuning it. He's not trying to be something he's not, right? Because you get again, the internet became the world's best BS detector, right? And remember, we were able to start this at the early days of that. So you could not, as it got more and more, you couldn't get away from it. You had to actually just be who you are and find your audience. The one thing that still stays true no matter what is a star is a star. Yep. When I met even the unassuming Chester I met the first time with Jeff, he just oozed it. You felt something just sitting with him, and he had these little geeky glasses on. He was just totally not the monster that comes out on stage, But
absolutely.
You felt that like even in a little bit of his he wasn't sure who he was yet, but you could still feel that it was in there,
Yeah.